Hello and welcome back. In this next section I'm going to cover how to build an entire data center's worth of VMs using Terraform. So hopefully you've already covered the first 5 chapters of the course. This will be the 6th chapter, which will be added in once this recording is complete. And what we're going to do, by the end of this chapter you'll have all the code in place that you need to build out a data center of AWS VMs. I'm going to provide all the code that's required to build the servers in AWS, and it's also going to set them up for exactly what we need for the course. So I've done this just because I know you guys want to get on and build stuff. You've got a copy of the code so you can go back and look at it and see how it works for you. You can look at everything from security groups through to the post-build scripts I'm running, through to setting up the SSH key. It's all going to be there for you, all the variables, everything, so you can go back and sort of dissect it yourself afterwards. So what this part of the course is going to cover, we're going to utilize the AWS credentials from the previous exercises. It uses modules to group up the code into reusable chunks. We're going to generate an SSH key automatically as part of the Terraform run, and we can use that same SSH key to access all of the servers that we're going to build. We're going to set up the security groups so that all the ports are going to be open right from day one, right from the start. All the Bootstrap scripts, that's going to install GitLab and Jenkins and all of the standard installation packages I want, they're going to get installed when we build the servers at the time of building. And the only file that you're ever going to need to update, unless you want to make some specific changes yourselves, is going to be the variables file. So one variable file, and we're literally going to change the number of the servers that we want to build from 1 to 2 to 5. That's it, and it will then go and build them. So let's get started. So if you haven't already, go back, complete these first 5 chapters. I only ask you to do that because obviously the way I'm running the course is very specific, and if you come in thinking that you can just start running chapter 6, there may be some things that don't work because you haven't set your environment up how I'm expecting you to set it up. And also the operating system makes a big difference. We're using Ubuntu. You can do this with CentOS, but let's crack on. So the first thing we're going to go and do is, so we're going to start off by downloading the code. Now we've got the old Terraform here, which goes into Terraform first, which we've already done, and that gave you a good idea of kind of what Ansible could do, how to use variables, how to set up a really basic sort of Bootstrap script. That's really helpful. But now what we're going to do is download my code. So this is, it's been written between me and another guy I know, this chap here, Arat, and I've obviously made a lot of adjustments to it. It's been purpose built specific for this course, but the things that you're going to learn in here you can take away and use in your other projects in Terraform. It's also compatible with Terraform version 1, so just make sure you're using the latest version and you should be fine. So the first thing we're going to do is here. So all these links are going to be in the description, along with links to all of the other chapters, as well as this course page as well, where you can actually, it's like a quick link. So obviously I haven't finished all of these yet. At this stage, I'm just writing this one now, and the video's going to be up soon, and then I've got all these to go. So, if you just subscribe to the page, you'll get notified when all of these are available if you want to come back and finish them off. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just clone this into our own repo. Okay, so git clone, and then the name. I'll pull it down. Okay, so we've got Terraform modules. So let's just go into Terraform modules. Helps if I go into Terraform modules. Okay, so we have 2 main directories. Can I do this? Okay, so just so I can visualize this for you, let's install the tree command. So sudo apt install tree. And the tree command just literally when you run it against the directory, it will just visually lay that directory structure out. Okay, so here we go. So running tree gives us this output, which is quite handy actually. So everything that we're going to do today is going to be on this file here in the variables file, and it's split into modules and this stack. So when you want to run Terraform, in this example, we're going to go into the stack directory, and then we're going to run Terraform in here, and it's going to pick up all the main and the versions and the vars variable file. This is where the files exist that are going to create all of the servers and install all of the packages and set them up in the right way. And here we have modules. So we have our AWS key module. This one sets up our SSH key. We have an EC2 module. So this is all defaults and everything that we're going to need to build EC2 servers. We're going to have our security groups as well. So this is the ports required to get to Jenkins and to use GitLab for SSH and for just our other standard ports that we're going to need. So this is all self-contained. It's exactly what we need for the course, and you can go in and make any updates. So from here, we go to stack and vars. This is where everything's going to be controlled from. So if we just cat this file, we can see that the previous AMI that we created with the Packer chapter, we're going to use that here, and that's going to be the basis for every VM we're going to create in AWS. And then here, what we do is we can look at this section here. So we can build T2 micros, T2 smalls, T2 mediums. We can build a GitLab server and a Jenkins server. We tell it the region, and this is just here for I cater for these ports elsewhere, but this is just showing you can actually set variable ports here as well. So this is it's quite cool. It's self-contained. Let's have a look at the main.tf. Okay, so this is the T2 main file, and we can see here that this hooks into the different modules for GitLab and modules for Jenkins, and it has the security groups that we require. It has the count, so this is every time you change the variable. You want one GitLab server, it'll create you one. You want two, it'll create you two. Same for Jenkins. Jenkins is going to be a T2 micro. GitLab is going to be a T2 medium because it's a bit more Java heavy. It needs extra memory, so we give it that. And then this is the variable.ami. So this is the default AMI that we've created with Packer. Is going to get picked up in the variable file and used in our modules. And then finally we have like the installation script. So if we were to go cat files, cat stack files, and then GitLab, we can see that what we do is the first thing is we do an update, then we do an interactive upgrade, then we install a whole load of stuff that GitLab needs and other things that we want. I had this previously as a fix for Python, but we don't need that anymore. We're now using a later version of an operating system, and that's all sorted. Then we need to add a few postfix things in here just for like email, and then we pull it down. So we actually pull down the GitHub, the GitLab packages, and then we pull out the actual IP address, the public IP address of the server, and then we use that inside for the GitHub installation. So if we have an external URL set as a variable and that's set to the IP address, that's what gets used. So let's get on with this. Right, the reason we use the public IP address is because we need to be able to get to this from outside of AWS, which does also mean that every time you turn off or restart the server, you'll get a new IP address, and we have to go back in and update this. But I'll show you how to do that when we do the GitLab section, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Okay. So now that we've had a quick overview of what this code entails, go and have a look for yourself. Actually, let's just do one more. Let's just cat modules and then security groups, and let's just pick the standard security set and then the main. We can see here, so all these are going to get set up. So this is the standard group, so it's 443 5601. So this is stuff that we're going to need for Kibana. I think this is Grafana's port. This is something to do with Elk Stack and Kibana again, and then making sure that we can basically come in from anywhere. So in terms of egress, well, we can get anywhere in egress, and then ingress is these different ports coming in. So lots of ports. It's doing lots and lots of stuff for us. It makes our lives a lot easier. So now that we've cloned the repo, we've had a little look around. We've done the tree so we can see the structure. We've had a quick look at some of the different Terraform modules and scripts and stuff that we're going to be running. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get into the stack directory. So just cd into stack, and then we're going to look at the variables, so vi vars.tf, and can see that we need this AMI. So if we go back into the DevOps Tools course and we go into Packer here and we look at all of this stuff that I created. So here, and you'll have the same, hopefully you've made a note of it, is the AMI that we created. So this is the one that we created when we did the Packer section. And we did a whole post-build script. We ran a few commands on it and it came out, and so we have a finished AMI that we're going to use. So in here, under this AMI, we're just going to delete this. We're going to add our own, and you do the same for your AMI. Save that. And then the next thing we need to do is just to verify that everything works. So we already have the AWS secret key and access key because we used that in the previous exercise. We're on the same server, the same files are going to get read, so we don't need to make any changes. So if we just change this from 0 to 1, and we save this, and then we just do Terraform plan. Oh, actually, because this is a new Terraform module, we have to run Terraform init. Okay, so that's now going to go off and pull down the plugin. That's good. Just quickly, I'll just quickly draw your attention to the README for the Terraform module. So, if you're going to clone this and use it, it will cost you. It's almost unlimited how many servers you can create. There is a hard limit with AWS that stops you building more than 50 servers at once, but you can easily override that by just getting in touch and asking them to raise the level. So if you are going to run lots of servers, it will cost you money. So do this at your own risk and know that what you're doing. Always shut your servers down if you're not using them. And if you really don't need it anymore, just destroy it so that those resources won't be used and you won't be charged for them. Okay, so these are the requirements. You should be familiar with AWS. PEM-keys, we've already covered a lot of this in the previous sections. You know how to install AWS CLI. We've covered this. And yeah, pretty much what you need to do to run it. So now that we've done Terraform init, we can run Terraform plan. So what this should do is look at our code and decide what it thinks it's going to do. So we should see some stuff in here for the fact it's going to create a VM. Right, so here we go. Let's have a look. So it's going to add 6 things, right? I've also added this section here which tells you the output IP addresses once they've been created. So let's just go up here. So as we move up, we can see that we're creating some security groups. Another security group for SSH. We've got a security group for Jenkins. We've got a security group for GitLab. It's doing a AWS key pair here, which is great. And then this is the actual information for the VM that is going to get created, the EC2 instance. Okay, so now we know that. Looks like it's going to work. Looks like it's going to work, so let's try a Terraform apply and see if we hit any issues. If we do, we'll just go through them and we'll resolve them and we'll move on. So hopefully this should be okay. I think I'm using Terraform 1.1.19, I think obviously as this course gets older that number will go up, but you should be okay with the later versions. Okay, let's say yes and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's creating the security groups. It's created the AWS key, and it says it's creating the instance. Okay, so this is looking good. So straight out the box, we've cloned it, we've given it an AMI, we've given it number 1 for T2 micro, and we've asked it to build, and it's now going off and building. So if we look on here, so we can see all these different, so we've got a standard and an SSH security group, plus a GitLab. If we go down into security groups, now I do have a few others in here. Do we have a time? There's no date, but you can see SSH, that's mine. You can see GitLab, Jenkins. There should be a standard here somewhere as well. Yeah, standard at the top. So those are the 4 groups that have been created. So if we look at key pairs, we can see that DC is the one that was created today, literally the 25th of September, just now. So this is going, I'm just going to hit enter on that. Yeah, so sometimes I've noticed this. It sort of gets stuck, and you press enter, and all of a sudden the whole thing bursts into life. So we can see that that's actually up, and it's doing the post-build stuff. It looks like it's doing installs. So let's go back to the console, back into EC2 instances. We can see that micro1, which is the name that I give it, and GitLab gets a, if you build a GitLab server, you get a GitLab name. You know, if you build a T2 micro, you get a medium, a micro, you get a nano, you get a medium. You know, you get all these different names. So this is up and running. So we're just going to see what happens. Okay, so it's going through. Looks like it's installing Python. Yeah, so it looks like it's possibly just still doing the update. So let's leave it to run. This will just take a few more minutes. It's best to see it in real time because then that's what you see, and you can almost play it off like for like. You know, if you do it side by side. So once this is built, we'll attempt to SSH in using our SSH key. Now this puts it in the default SSH key area. So we should just be able to SSH straight into the server. And once we've verified this will be the end of the chapter. The next chapter will be on Ansible, and we're going to build ourselves a load balanced Nginx web server. So we'll build a few more servers in Terraform, and then we'll write the code that's going to use Ansible to put a web server in place. Yes, the good thing is, as part of this output, I've actually created an output option. So when you do Terraform output, it actually populates all of the IP addresses that you can then use, which is quite a nice little feature. It means you don't have to go searching around for it. You can just come straight in Terraform output, and you can get the IP addresses from all of the servers that you're currently running. Okay, so it's completed. Lovely. Right, so now we just need to connect. So let me just have a quick check of our SSH keys. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think it's used this one. So because it was already there, I think it's just going to use the one that we've got. If it hadn't, it would have created it. So if we just do SSH, and we create a Ubuntu server, so we don't have to give it a username, and we just give it the IP address, which will send the username by default. Let's see if this works. Yes. And we're on. Simple as that. So we're now on our first AWS server that we've built using the Terraform module code, and that's it. So now if you want to build more, we come out of here, we vi vars, and you change this number from 1 to 2, 1 to 5. It's totally up to you. You can change all of these. You can build a T2 medium, you can do GitLab and Jenkins, and we will be covering this later, so I suggest you wait. So let's just change that back to 1. And then if we just run Terraform output on its own, you can see that we've got the IP address of the server that we've just created. So that's it. So for this chapter, that's what I wanted to cover. So you've installed the code. We're going to use this code on all of the rest of the course. Every time we need to build something, we're going to come here. If we need to get rid of something, we're not going to just destroy it. We're just going to change it, say from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1, and that will just delete the eldest 2. Sorry, it will delete the last 2 created servers. So every time we create a server, we get micro 1, micro 2, micro 3. If you then go from 3 to 1, it will delete micro 3, micro 2, but leave you micro 1. So we can sort of grow and shrink our environment without affecting all of the servers that we're running. So I hope that was helpful for you. Come back, the next chapter is going to be about an introduction to Ansible and how we can use Ansible to create a web balanced load. How we can use Ansible to create a load balanced web server. And then this is going to form the basis of our CI/CD pipeline in Jenkins. So yeah, come back for that, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.